conference do you plan to attend this year for your professional development in product management and innovation? Conferences provide two key benefits. First, the opportunity to network with other product professionals, building those connections that can be useful to you now as well as in the future. And also learning how they're dealing with issues that you're facing. That it's nice to know that we're not alone, right? That there's others dealing with the same sort of problems. And secondly, to learn concepts and practices that help you be more successful. That's a win for you and a win for your organization. I want to share with you the conference that I attend each year, and I've asked the conference planners to join me to share why this is an important event for product professionals. And they must find it valuable for them personally as well, because they volunteer a large amount of their time to make this thing happen. With me are Spike Ross-Corbett and Bill Reid. Spike is a product manager at Portland Marketing Analytics, where he uses data analytics to develop and evaluate communication strategies for experiential marketing agencies, advertisers, and leading brands. Previously, he served in the U.S. Coast Guard, and I appreciate your service there. Bill has held several VP and director product roles and is now serving as the VP at Boulder Imaging, responsible for so many things, Bill, for project management, production, global supply chain, professional services, and the hardware engineering teams. I think he also has 22 patents to his name at this point, too. Boulder Imaging provides machine vision technologies for a variety of inspection and recognition applications. I'm looking forward to jumping in with both of you and help the listeners learn how we can be more successful as product professionals. Also, we created an article format of everything we talk about. Listeners, you can find that at productmasterynow.com/PDMA 2024.
How can you unlock your full potential as a product manager? We're sharing the product management insights you need. They are based on the 7 research-backed knowledge areas for product mastery. You'll learn to create products customers love, enhance your influence, and elevate your career. Welcome to Product Mastery Now, hosted by Dr. Chad McAllister, product management professor, practitioner, and your guide.
Spike and Bill, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So glad we can talk. We all have our stories about how we discovered Pdma and got involved, and all 3 of us volunteer a lot of time to help out the organization. And it is a volunteer-led organization, right? It's amazing this organization has lasted some 50 years, near that at this point, based just on volunteer work. So obviously people are finding something of value out of it. I'd be glad to hear from both of you just about the work that you do and how Pdma has helped you in that work as a product professional. Bill, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. So at Boulder Imaging, right now, our company is growing at an exceptional pace. And we're having to not just create our new next generation products, but we're also having to innovate within our business processes in order to meet those growing pains that come along with really growing at 2x over the last 2 years. And PDMA and the conference, you think about innovation, but PDMA has key tools in 7 different areas that are part of the body of knowledge. And right now, 2 of those ones that I'm using a lot are around strategy and teams and culture. I'm currently utilizing them to help define our corporate strategy, to tie that strategy to our strategic plans for each of our departments, and ensuring that our teams are focused and all pulling in the same direction, which is very critical at the rate we're growing.
Yeah, so that knowledge, those knowledge areas, that knowledge base, we have to call it the body of knowledge for product professionals. Spike, how about you? How has this helped your career?
Yeah, it's been great. So I work in market research, both qualitative and quantitative market research, a lot of consumer behavior. And one of the best things that PDMA offers is this idea of voice of the customer, right? We utilize that every day in my job. And going to PDMA and talking not only at the conference, but to other people within the organization, you get a real insight into what voice of the customer is. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that are using our products, and we need to reach out to them and figure out why they're doing it. We can look at big data all day long as to the website they're going to and if they bought it or not, but we need to ask them why. And utilizing voice of the customer is a real big part of that. And PDMA provides a big platform to tap into that.
Yeah, I want to connect these 2 points that you just both shared regarding the body of knowledge and the voice of the customer. I right now have the pleasure of training a group of product innovation trainers. So it's a group that trains into companies, and I've been asked to help them get better at their craft, which is a great honor for me. And anyone that knows me, I love training on innovation. It's what I do for universities and others as well. And the question came up the other day in these 7 knowledge areas. And so obviously they talk about different things, right? So one is market research, and there's portfolio management, there's process, there's strategy, there's others. And one of the trainers observed as we're going through the body of knowledge for PDMA, why is there such an emphasis on this demand side approach to innovation versus supply side, right? Because a lot of companies, they create products based on what they think customers need, right, and their core competencies. And all throughout the body of knowledge is weave this notion of you really need to understand what the desire is from the customer, what those unmet needs are, what kind of problem you're trying to solve before
Hmm.
you're going to have great expectations of being successful, right? If you're not creating something people want, there's a good chance you're not going to get it right. And we do hear that at the conference, and it is woven throughout the body of knowledge that this need to understand the customer. So I appreciate that as a
Yeah,
point coming up.
what are you doing it for if not for the customer, right?
Right,
And how are you gonna find out what they need if you don't talk to them? That that's the point of it all.
right. Yeah, we need
Yeah,
tools for that. How do you see that, Bill?
yeah, I agree totally. And actually, that's made me think that's one other area within what we're doing right now at Boulder Imaging is I'm working with my team so that they understand that focus on customer isn't just that external customer, the end user of our product, but that hardware engineering's customers, the production team, the supply chain team's customers, production, our global field operations, and that everybody has both those internal customers and external
Mm-hmm.
customers that we
Right.
need to make sure we understand the needs, their pain points, and how we best meet those needs and address the pain points.
Yeah, absolutely. Our job as product professionals is to create value for the customer and in turn reap that value for the organization. So, okay, tell me about your experiences, and maybe there's one that stands out, right, of attending PDMA conferences. Why is it that you make time to go? We'll get on to planning for in just a moment, but I'm curious, just as an attendee, why is it that you make time to go to the conference?
Go ahead.
So for me, I started in 2014. They had conference here in Denver, and it was the first conference I attended. And I don't know, maybe I got lucky. One of the sessions there was a session around whiskeys, and they were looking at the packaging compared to the actual value of the product and the taste of the product. And they did a whiskey
I know
tasting.
that that was an amazing presentation, right? The
Yeah.
testing they did, and it came down to the bottle, had a large impact. But share with us, because I know your hobby a little bit, share with us why this was important for you.
Well, it was important. I'm a home brewer and stuff, and so I really understanding not just the flavor profiles, but the packaging, the presentation, the interpretation. One of the things they were
Hmm.
talking about was the maker's mark. They whiskey, you've got to be 5, 6, 10 years out for your whiskey, and they had an increased demand. And somebody said, well, everybody does it on the ice or they add a little water to it. So let's take our bottles from 90 proof down to 80 proof and we can get X number of more cases out of what we have in stock. And it totally backfired on them because
Mm.
they just weren't thinking about that interpretation of the product value that people they feel like they're getting more value out of that 90% and not the 80%. And so for me, that brought the focus not just to my hobby and stuff, but just to your product and more so the interpretation of your product is as critical as what your product is.
Yeah,
Um,
a good example that stands out. Spike, how about
yeah.
you?
I think I'm a more hands-on learner, and I feel like going to the conference, you can dive in a lot more into things, especially when you're trying to learn things. As opposed to Bill, I'm more or less new to product management. And I feel like when you go to the conference, you have an opportunity to really talk to people about certain things you're interested in. For example, when you're talking to or you're hearing a presentation, Then afterwards, you can go meet the speaker and really talk and ask them. Again, I'm going to go back to
Hmm.
asking the question why, because that's constantly what I do. Maybe it's the economist in me, but you're always asking why. So and that you have that opportunity to really understand the concepts. And I feel like that's really the motivation to going to the conference. Obviously, connecting with people is huge and there's people, like I said, more than willing to do so, but really diving into the concepts, I think, is critical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that opportunities to interact. There's
Yeah,
not too many opportunities to interact with,
Yeah.
the type of people that are coming, just the experience they have, and ask them questions and have that
exactly.
opportunity to network.
And
Yeah.
because you can watch a webinar, right? You can watch a webinar on the same concept, but really being able to talk to them and ask the appropriate questions because they're not going to know what to talk about in a webinar, right? So you can
Hmm.
really literally sit down with them and talk to them.
Yeah. And I think just one of the other things we intentionally do at conference to that is we set up the conference and the table and the setting of the room with half rounds. And we will adjust the number of half rounds we put in the room based upon our conference attendance so that we basically force people to sit at tables with other people so that you can have those discussions before and after the session and even have interactions during the sessions to help build that community and build that understanding and cross pollination of information.
Yeah, it's really helpful. I am when I take the Myers-Briggs type assessment, type indicator, I am high on the introvert scale, right? So I am the person who does like to stay to myself. I like to think through deeply in my head first. It's a bit uncomfortable for me to be in those settings where, like, there's people I don't know, and I'd rather just hang out at the table by myself. And so I appreciate people that find that uncomfortable as I do. But on the other side of that, it's been so good for me to personally try to move into that, knowing that this is a place where you're expected to meet people. And as product people, I have learned the best, or at least the lessons that seem to be most impactful to me outside my domain, right? So my background is largely software product development, some system integration work. But hearing from, I still remember direct specific stories of not speakers, but people I've met, right, of building materials and how they learn what customers want, right? And just really scrappy things that this really large company that is
Mhm.
name recognizable and the product manager saying, yeah, I just go hang out at Home Depot on a Saturday morning for a couple hours and just you wait for someone to come by and pick off either my product off the shelf or a competitor's product. And then I just ask them, like, what are you working on? Why did you decide to pick that one? Like, that's brilliant, right? It's just these little tips to pick up. And so it's been helpful for me to, as the high introvert, to move into making time to do the networking. And that's really useful. And some people plan this really well. I think it was last time we were in Orlando together right before COVID. I know one of the attendees had scoped out ahead of time all the speakers that she wanted to talk to personally and had my name on a list to track me down and ask me some questions. And it is a good opportunity to make connections that are useful, not just in the moment, but can be useful in the future too.
Yeah, and the setting is pretty intimate for you to do that in. You can go into the Innovation Cafe where you'll be, Chad, and get away from things and talk to people. But as Bill mentioned, if you're sitting at a table with people, you're going to end up talking. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about who's talking on stage or anything. I mean, we could plan out anything. We planned out some of the conference just talking and getting ideas from people sitting at the table at last year's conference. It's great. It's a great environment.
Yep. And if you do want to just come to a session, hear from the speaker, right? Take your notes, soak all that in, and not interact. No one's going to force you to. You can make this your conference, but there's good opportunities for sure. I believe this is the second year for both of you planning the Pdma conference. Is that correct?
Nope.
You did
Bill's
This
been
is
there
more?
for
that.
a while.
This is my 6th year.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So 6 for Bill. How about you, Spike?
This is my second year co-leading it with Bill, but my
Okay.
third year on the committee.
Okay, so there's
Yeah,
something here that you must enjoy some aspect of this.
they pull
Um,
me back in.
So as you've been working on this, getting ready for this, so that experience is helpful, right? To see how conference attendees respond to one conference and building on that. What are you doing this year? Is there a theme that you have chosen? How are you thinking about the tracks? Kind of talk about the guiding principles per se about how you're thinking about planning this conference.
So there's a couple things to touch on. One, particularly in regards to the tracks, we wanted to take a different approach this year. And we've noticed in the past that a lot of conferences, maybe even ours included, were all the talks were more or less piecemeal together. They're great talks, but there was no cohesion. And what we really tried to do this year was create these journeys for attendees. And so that it is a track, but these journeys essentially build on themselves. And depending on where you are in your product life cycle, whether it's front end or back end, or you just want to learn about innovation tools and governance, we have a journey that will help you and that will build on it. For example, the ideation and discovery, the front end journey. It starts with that idea generation and moves along with the product process. So by the end of it, you have these tools to really implement when you get back to your company.
Yeah, I love that. I remember, Spike, you and I talked last year at the conference just about this notion, from my experience at least. I know I'm personally wired to really like that front end. I like coming up with understanding what those unmet needs are for the customer and then coming up with a solution and developing that. And frankly, I get bored later in the life cycle, right? When it comes to launch, I really don't want to be involved in that. And even the development parts, like, yeah, I can make it real. I've done that and led the teams, but I really like that front end. And it seems like there's people that gravitate to some aspect. There's people that love launch and they're all over the excitement of this, and this is the best thing to get this into customers' hands. Or when a competitor comes in the market, we are going to defeat them, right? And they get really psyched about this. And it seems like, my experience, most of us gravitate to some area. And I love that kind of focus. Like, okay, let's have the journey to understand really how to do the front end well. Or I don't know what other aspects are here. I've done my best to not look into the conference in detail until we had a chance to talk about this. So, Bill, what do you want to add to this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first on your comments, Chad, that's something that is very true. You have your starters and your finishers, and each one is really good at different parts of the product process and everything. So we're trying to hit those areas with that front end ideation discovery journey, a development and delivery journey. And then you have your people, your quality people, your process people that are really into the governance and tools. So we have a journey for them. But one of the other things I think is really cool that we're doing at this year's conference, we started it last year. We had our bridge session where, because PDMA, the conference, is actually two events. It's the JPEM Research Forum and the Inspire Innovation Conference. And so on Sunday afternoon, we bridged those two groups. And this year, we're having a focus on AI. Obviously, it's a big talking point across the country and everything. And within that bridge session, we're going to have a keynote speaker from academics, a keynote speaker from industry, and then a panel that has both industry and academics on it. And we're going to highlight that panel with a chatbot so that we'll have an AI panelist. And to me, it's going to be a really fun and interesting afternoon to allow people who are showing up for the conference to get into the conference on Sunday afternoon with a head start, and those who are there for research forum to really bridge over to see what practitioners are doing with the research and bring those two communities together, which I think are critical for how PDMA is able to function and one of the things that makes our conference really different.
I think it makes PDMA really different. And I would love to explore this just for a moment. The connection that PDMA has started with a strong focus on practitioners. Let's get information into practitioners' hands. And when I say started, this was 1976. This is the oldest organization that exists for product professionals. Let's help practitioners understand what is working in the best companies, right? So there's been that strong focus, but there's a connection to this academic research side as well. Spike, I don't know if you want to dive into that for us.
Yeah, so that's Bill kind of touched on this earlier when he was
Yeah.
talking about the idea of that cross pollination. And it's not just like people from CPG or people from tech coming in. We have this whole other avenue of academics coming in and giving their perspective on product management. And that's the idea of this bridge session. We've talked to the academics and we've talked to the practitioners, and it seemed like they were more or less working in silos, and they didn't know what each other were doing. And we're trying to bring them together to really focus on how they can help each other and explore ideas that somebody from the academics can research, and how what they're doing can apply to practitioners in the real world. And as Bill mentioned, it was a big hit last year. We're really excited to expand on it again this year.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there participating in that bridge session as well.
Yes, you will. Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about what we can expect from the conference. Just obviously, where is it, details, but I want to understand the tracks a little bit more too that you talked about. So people that are listening that are thinking about, okay, haven't heard about this conference before, didn't even know this organization existed that's been around since 1976. They have the body of knowledge is fantastic. They do a good job of researching and keeping that up. But frankly, Pdma doesn't do a great job of marketing. So if this is the first time you're hearing about it, fantastic. I'm glad you know about it now. Tell us more about what to expect.
Well, you mentioned the body of knowledge. We do have a body of knowledge boot camp, so you can get NPDP certified. It'll prepare you for taking that test to get certified. We also have an innovation executive track that we're doing. We're inviting executives from around the country to take part um, in this innovation track, where it's led by Atif Rafiq. He was the chief digital officer at McDonald's and Volvo, and he's going to really dive into this idea of decision sprint and getting teams to move forward and actionable in their decision making process.
Yeah, he was a previous guest. I don't have in front of me what number of episode, but you can find Atif's interview. Yeah, really good experience. That innovation executive track. So what kind of people do you want to attract to that? Who's a good fit?
So for that track, we're looking for people who are in that VP, senior VP, executive director, C-suite level at companies that are doing product development and creating new product services. When I say product development, I mean service development, product development, and are involved in that innovation side of the business, and that can create a community where they're able to work with each other, understand each other's problems, challenges they're facing, and have common stories there. And so one of the things we're really focused on is making sure that it's not a session where you have the CEO from some major corporation or CIO from a major corporation in this room, and there's a consultant coming in trying to sell them something.
Mm-hmm.
We're really trying to keep it exclusive so that they're able to build their teams, better understand how to build innovation within their company or to improve their innovation process, and they're the leaders within the companies.
Okay, and so this is going to be because of who it's targeting, a small group of people involved in this track, a lot of personal sort of involvement with everyone there. I think a lot of product VPs listen to this podcast, and if you are listening now and you just heard about this innovation executive track, I think this is a great opportunity, especially if you're more of a product-led organization or you're moving that direction. Attend with someone else, another VP or someone on the C-suite, to help start building internally some of the collaboration around the importance of product and how we do. So look into that. If you're a product VP listening, I think this is a unique opportunity to get together with just a handful of others and learn from each other as Atif also takes you through decision sprint methodology. Okay, so we got
Absolutely.
boot camp, we got the executive track. What else is going on?
So you had asked a little bit more about the journeys. And so if you go to the website, which we'll give the link and provide it here later, but we have each of the journeys mapped out. And one of the unique things is like on that ideation discovery journey, and don't quote me exactly on these words, but we have questions that you may be asking so that you can figure out which sessions can help you answer those questions. Like, how do I best understand my customers' unmet needs?
Mm.
Okay, now I know my customers' unmet needs. How can I generate ideas in order to solve those unmet needs? All
Mm-hmm.
right, I've got a whole bunch of ideas. Now, how can I take those ideas and filter them out and prioritize them to know which ones I should put into my strategy and on my roadmap and develop it? And then you go into the development and delivery journey is, okay, I've got all these ideas coming in, but how do I assign my resources and get my resources to approach those ideas and be able to transform them into an actual product or service? And how do I get that product or service and know how to best market it? And how do I do post market KPIs and stuff and metrics to see how well that product's doing so I can then take it back to the front end and go back through the journey again. And similarly on the innovation governance tools, how do I create a innovation culture within my company? How do I best create a method for managing my roadmap and my portfolio? And so each of those journeys, if you look at them on the website, you'll have those questions, and I'm sure everybody will look at it and say, that's a question that I need to get answered. I need to understand something better in that area to help myself and my company.
Fantastic. I love that it's formed around those questions, right? It's like, if these are things you're dealing with, this is the right place for you to be.
And as you could see, as Bill was going through them, they're building off each other. So one session leads right into the other. So by the end of it, you have this plethora of knowledge that you can bring back. And to answer your question before, Chad, it is September 14th through 17th in St. Louis. That
And
website is
what are the days for that? Is it
Sa-
what does it Saturday to when does the thing
yep,
start?
Saturday through Tuesday.
Okay.
Yes. So the JPEM Research Forum is Saturday and Sunday morning. Bridge session is Sunday afternoon. And then the Inspire Innovation Conference is Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. So if you're an academic, you certainly want to be there for Saturday because that's when research is, all the research papers, posters, everything's presented. Sunday is kind of a half and half day. And Sunday afternoon specifically is that bridge session. And I think that starts at like, what, 3:30 St. Louis time?
The keynotes start around 1 o'clock.
Okay, keynotes are at 1,
Sessions
academic
around 3.
keynote, practitioner keynote, and then the panel discussion dealing with AI. And then there's a fun event after that that goes back, oddly enough, Bill, to where you started with whiskey.
Yes, it does. Yeah, so we have our welcome reception on Sunday evening. And for that welcome reception, we're working with Dexter Distilling to have an AI powered whiskey blending system. And so they have, I think, 6 different bottles of whiskey on this system, and you go up, answer a few questions about what flavor profiles you like, and then it blends a glass of whiskey just for you based on your taste.
This is going to be a good conversation starter around whiskey.
Yeah.
And then we said, why not? Let's just keep this theme going. And so we have an offsite excursion on Monday where we will be heading to Anheuser-Busch.
Okay, is that Monday evening?
Correct, Monday evening.
Okay, fantastic. I'd like to hear what they said. What they say. Last year we had one of the speakers was from Kerr's Brewery, and I forgot that they've merged and they have a longer name to their name now. But I live in Colorado, so Kerr's Brewery is one of the Colorado local breweries up in Golden, Colorado. And I just loved hearing how their journey in doing something very out of the box for them, which was getting into non-alcoholic beverages, and as a brewery creating that business, right? What that was like. So the opportunity, I love factory tours to start with. The opportunity to go to Anheuser-Busch will be really enjoyable. So that's Monday night. Conference ends Tuesday. Anything extra going on Tuesday besides the sessions?
So on Tuesday afternoon, we actually end the conference with half-day workshops. So there's 2 different workshops. One is Radical Product Thinking. That's going to be led by Radhika Dut, who was a keynote speaker for us last year, and she's coming back to lead that workshop. And the other is the AI Design Sprint, which is being led by Mike Heisey and the team from Doherty Business Solutions, and where they actually will take you through basically using AI as the design sprint and coming up with clickable prototypes by the end of the design sprint on that afternoon. So both very good workshops that are included with your admission to the conference.
Which is no small thing to say, because last year we had the pleasure of Dan Olson doing a workshop Tuesday afternoon, and for the I don't know how this worked out, but for the price of the conference, I think the price of the conference was less than attending a Danielson workshop when he does workshops, right? These are not lightweight workshops. If you wanted to go to one of these workshops that these people do on their own, there would be a price differential. And so including that as part of the conference is a great opportunity. I unfortunately missed part of that because that was a workshop I wanted to go to last year. And since I do this podcast, I'm also doing some interviews at the conference. It's a great opportunity to meet some wonderful people and do interviews. And I had an interview that overlapped that time, but I got to hang out in part of the workshop, which was great. So there's a lot going on. Again, there is this appeal to academics, and I'm dual-hatted these days. So I have the practitioner background. That's where I started. I did go back, do a PhD along the way with no plans of ever teaching. That wasn't why I did that. I got fascinated in a problem that was coming up professionally that I wanted to dive into. And then I find myself teaching some these days too. So I have attended the academic part of this, which is the all-day Saturday, part-day Sunday. And then the practitioner thing really does start Monday morning, right? That's the kickoff keynote. And Sunday afternoon is the bridging between the two. And so listeners, if you're thinking about this conference and you're not an academic, probably don't need to be there Saturday. If you have a foot in the academic area, definitely not to miss. If you get in there Sunday for the afternoon, I think you'll find the AI topics that are being discussed, because they're very practical, right? It's going to be from the perspective of how are we using AI in our work and our product development work. And the whiskey happy hour thing sounds like not to miss if we're going to have the robotic AI blending machine putting together new creations for us. And then Monday and Tuesday, all focused on the practitioner. And again, this is St. Louis, and you said September 14th to 17th?
Correct.
Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yep.
And I'll probably be flying in Saturday and then catch the things on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. And so if you're there, love to see you. We'll get back to this again, but what's the website now that we're talking about this, the details?
The website is pdmainspire.org.
pdmainspire.org. And I happen to know, because I did this yesterday to go look for someone else that was interested in the conference. If you just go to PDMA, that stands for Product Development Management Association, especially Product Development and Management Association, but pdma.org, there'll be a nice big banner at the top that will say, hey, you want to see the schedule, register, go there for all things about the conference. Okay. This is fantastic. Good information. We're going to talk about a listener question in just a moment. But first, in this episode, we've been learning about the value of improving your knowledge and skills in product management. And the PDMA conference is a great place to do that. And I also have an additional way for you to strengthen your skills. It provides all the elements for product mastery. It is organized in those 7 research-backed knowledge areas. That is the body of knowledge from PDMA. So I leverage that in the work that I do. And it's called the Rapid Product Mastery Experience, or the RPM experience. That was meant to be catchy. Hope you like the name, the RPM experience. It builds upon your existing product management skills you already have, the knowledge you already have. It also allows you to earn professional certification in the process. And it's the training that prepares you for greater success for the next step of your career. Most people who take this training already have several years of experience. They're not new to product work. And the RPM experience integrates that knowledge and really adds to it. It will fill in some holes and put things together better for you. When I did it, there were all these aha moments, which is why I promote the body of knowledge and have added my own training system around it as well. If you're serious about creating more value for customers, improving your team, and growing your own career, the RPM experience is for you. And if you're a product VP, you can use this RPM experience to further develop your product managers and your product teams. Go to productmasterynow.com to learn more about that training and to get started. Once again, that's simply productmasterynow.com. So on to a question from a listener. This question has come up in some form as I've talked with product people about conferences. We have several choices, which is I'm very thankful for. There's other conferences for product managers and innovators. Why should I spend my dollars and my time at the PDMA conference? You two are really good to ask since you've been to so many and you have been part of planning so many.
Well, I think one of the things that's critical, and we've heard this as well, we've had this question come up, And obviously, people are going to compare conferences. And one thing that we do is really provide you with substance and the tools that you need, as opposed to what we've heard is you get a big name speaker or something and they're coming and they're just selling you something. We're not doing that there. We've really created these journeys for you to take home something and really apply it to your work. And then on top of that, what you're getting is coming from a plethora of people. It's not, as I mentioned, not just tech people or CPG people, but you're getting a lot of knowledge from a lot of different areas. And
Mhm.
that knowledge is really being willing to be shared with you. People are willing to go out of their way as opposed to thousands of people running around and you're scrambling like sardines. You can sit down and you can talk to people and you can really dive into something that you're interested in at this conference.
Excellent.
Okay. And Chad, I've just a couple other things I thought of is that makes us different is we have two sessions that are usually very well attended and the top sessions of the conference, and that's our Outstanding Corporate Innovator Award session and the
Mm.
Global Student Innovation Challenge sessions. And it allows attendees to actually see the broad spectrum from students that are undergraduates and graduates at universities that are presenting their projects, their capstone projects, where they're, saying, "Here's what we're trying to develop. Here's a new product idea." And so you got kids that are coming into innovation for the first time, and then you've got these outstanding corporate innovators that are the best of the best. Previous winners have been Cargill, Hershey's, 3M, Church Dwight, Medtronic, and we have a great group of finalists for that this year. I can't say who they are, but the winner of the finalists, we're not going to go wrong. They're going to be another incredible company, and they will come and they will share their innovation journey and their some key insights into how they do innovation and product development, product management. So it's really a great opportunity there. And then on this Global Student Innovation Challenge, this year we had 125 students that represent 15 universities, 19 professors, 34 total teams from 8 different countries. So it's
Wow.
truly a global student innovation challenge. And attendees get to vote for the winner. And this is significant. The winners get cash money out of it to help further their ideas, further their concepts that they're trying to develop. So it's two great opportunities for attendees that you don't see at a lot of other conferences.
Yeah, I just love being able to pour into students in some way and help them prepare for their careers. And I love that when we get to see the presentations from the students and then we get to vote for who we think really should win the recognition. But all of them learned so much just by going through
Mhm.
the application process and preparing to present. It's a phenomenal experience. And then the OCI, the Outstanding Corporate Innovator, this is not a lightweight thing. I was pretty impressed when I found out about this at Pdma. Many organizations use it as a way for improving their innovation capability internally, and they don't win the first time they apply, right? Some
Mhm.
organizations go through this and using it as a tool to get better. But there's volunteers from PDMA that go fly, meet on site. I know you've done this, Bill Spike. I don't know if you've
Yep.
done this.
Uh,
I may have to
yep.
sometime because it sounds so much fun. But spending time learning how they innovate and what their practices are. And once again, PDMA is trying to then, it's not just that recognition, right? This is a great tool for people involved in PDMA to say, okay, what is that outstanding corporate innovator doing? What can we learn from their practices? Let's benchmark what they're doing right and help us improve what we can do as well. So it's a good knowledge sharing environment.
Yeah, I actually just got back from last week. I was doing a site visit for one of the finalists, and it was an all-day event. They probably spent, I don't know, hundreds of hours, if not 1,000 hours between their team preparing for the
Hmm.
site visit to address all the questions that we have, the areas we investigate. They had over almost 35, 40 people involved in the site visit that were presenting in different areas of how they're doing innovation. And they were a company that had applied last year. We gave them feedback on where they could improve, and they came back this year again, and they actually added a person to their team specifically because of our feedback. If we said,
Mm.
here's an area where you need to improve your capabilities, and they went back and looked and said, yeah, you're right, PDMA, that is an area we need to get better. And it's really great. Year after year, we see that in companies that go through the process, that they just get better where they win or lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So I'm excited to be part of the conference again. I will be there in September, 14th to 17th in St. Louis, and all the information at pdma.org. As is always the case, we like innovation quotes around here. I think you both have one for us, and so we won't draw these out too much, but tell us what the quote is and why you chose that one, why that one stands out for you. Bill, you want to start?
Sure. I chose I Can't Spare This Man, He Fights from Abraham Lincoln, talking about Grant. And I chose it because for me, it represents the spirit that you need and I expect from my team in innovation, product development, product management to, overcome the obstacles. You're going to
Mm.
have failures, you're going to have obstacles. So you just got to keep fighting and overcome them and drive forward. And that's how you get to success.
Fantastic, right? There's always obstacles. There's, as wonderful as product management work is, there are challenges that we face and things we have to push through and figure out. And sometimes it feels like a job of doing the impossible, making the impossible possible, and work through it. Spike, what's your quote?
Mine is, if you have always done it that way, it is probably wrong, by Charles Kettering. And this is more just be a disruptor. You got to move forward. If you're doing it the same way, it's going to be probably wrong because other people are going to be innovating. You got to be innovative, do something different.
Yeah. If we're not doing something different, why does anyone want our product? Right. And it's usually not just about creating more value. We have to create more value that really stands out, that is different and captures attention. So fantastic. One more time, how can listeners find out about the PDMA conference?
PDMAinspire.org is the link to the conference central. And as Chad, you mentioned, you can find it on pdma.org as well with a link to that page on that site.
Fantastic. Spike and Bill, thank you so much for joining us, letting us know about this conference. And I think more than anything, a takeaway would be just both of yours dedication to being part of this conference, to make it happen, to plan it, to make it a good experience. That's a testament to the value that this has provided you and that you want to provide others as well. And so I really appreciate both of you doing that through the years and doing it this year as well. So thanks again.
One more thing, Chad.
Yeah, Bill.
We have a discount code for your listeners.
Oh, fantastic. This is even better.
The discount code is 2024 PMN10. So if they go and register on the registration site, there'll be a place to enter that discount code and they'll get a 10% discount on registration.
Okay, so one more time, it's 2024
PMN, Product Mastery Now.
Product Mastery 10. Now, okay.
And then a 10 at the end. So
and a 10 at the end. September's 10 off. I like it. So 2024 PMN for Product Mastery Now, number 10. Fantastic. So if you go to the website to register, don't miss your 10% off. That's great. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And speaking of the show notes, we create an article version of everything we discuss. You'll find that at productmasterynow.com/PDMA2024. And we'll have that discount code in there for you and a link to the conference. If you do come, please find me. There will be an area of the conference called the Innovation Cafe. I will be hanging out in that a good part of the time when I'm not enjoying a session as well. But track me down. I'd be glad to meet and talk with you. As always, everyone, keep innovating.
Thank you for listening to Product Mastery Now, where product leaders and managers gain product mastery through practical knowledge, influence, and confidence. By listening, you are becoming a product master, creating products customers love. Find additional resources at productmasterynow.com. Keep innovating.